Hello students, welcome to my class on OOAD through UML. Today we are going to discuss about interface and implementation. Meyer and Snyder have both suggested that programming is largely a matter of contracting the various functions of a larger problem or decomposed into smaller problems by subcontracting them to different elements of the design. Nowhere is this idea more evident than in the design of classes, whereas an individual object is a concrete entity that performs some role in the overall system. The class captures the structure and behavior common to all related objects. Thus, a class serves as a sort of binding contract between an abstraction and all of its clients. By capturing these decisions in the interface of a class, a strongly typed programming language can detect violations of this contract during compilation. We can further divide the interface of a class into three types. Public, a declaration that is accessible to all clients. A protected, a declaration that is accessible only to the class itself, its subclass and its friends. Private, a declaration that is accessible only to the class itself and its friends. Class life cycle. We may come to understand the behavior of a simple class just by understanding the semantics of its distinct public operations in isolation. However, the behavior of more interesting classes such as moving an instance of the class display item or scheduling an instance of the class temperature control involves the interaction of their various operations over the lifetime of each of their instances. Relationships among classes. Relationships among classes. Consider for a moment the similarities and differences among the following classes of objects: flowers, daisies, red roses, yellow roses, petals, and ladybugs. We can make the following observations. A daisy is a kind of flower. A rose is a different kind of flower. Red roses and yellow roses are both kinds of roses. A petal is a part of both kinds of flowers. Ladybugs eat certain pests such as aphids, which may be infesting certain kinds of flowers. Specifically, most object oriented languages provide direct support for some combinations of the following relationships: association, inheritance, aggregation, using, instantiation, master class. Association, inheritance, aggregation, using, instantiation, meta class. association. For example, in an automated system for retail point of sale, two of our key abstractions include products and sales. We may show a simple association between these two classes. The class product denotes the products sold as part of a sale, and the class sale denotes the transaction through which several products were last sold. By implication, this association suggests bidirectional navigation. Given an instance of the product, we should be able to locate the object denoting its sale, and given an instance of the sale, we should be able to locate all the products sold during transaction. Inheritance. After space probes are launched, they report back to the ground stations with information regarding the status of the important subsystems such as electrical power and propulsion system, and different sensors such as radiation sensors, mass spectrometers, cameras, micro, meteorite collision detectors, and so on. Collectively, this relayed information is called telemetry data. Telemetry data is commonly transmitted as a bit stream consisting of a header, which includes a timestamp and some keys identifying the kind of information that follows, plus several frames of processed data from the various subsystems and sensors. Because this appears to be a straightforward aggregation of different kinds of data, we might be tempted to define a record type for each kind of telemetry data. For example, in C++, we may write single inheritance. Simply stated, inheritance is the relationship among classes wherein one class share the structure and our behavior defined in other class or more classes. We call the class from which another class inherits its superclass. In our example, telemetry data is superclass of electrical data. Similarly, we call a class that inherits from one or more classes a subclass. Electrical data is a subclass of telemetry data. Inheritance therefore defines an easy hierarchy among classes in which a subclass inherits from one or more superclasses. This is in fact the litmus test for inheritance given classes A and B. If A is not a kind of B, then A should not be a subclass of B. In this sense, electrical data is specialized kind of the more generalized temporary data. The ability of a language to support this kind of inheritance distinguishes object oriented from object based programming languages. Multiple inheritance. With single inheritance, each subclass has exactly one superclass. However, as Vlissides and Linton point out, although single inheritance is very useful, it often forces the programmer to derive from one of two equally attractive classes. This limits the applicability of predefined classes, often making it necessary to duplicate code. For example, there is no way to derive a graphic that is both a circle and picture. One must derive from one or other and re-implement the functionality of the class that was excluded. Multiple inheritance is supported directly by languages such as C++ and CLOS, and to a limited degree by Smalltalk. The need for multiple inheritance in object oriented programming languages is still a topic of great debate. In our experience, we find multiple inheritance to be like a parachute. You don't always need it, but when you do, you really happy to have it on hand. Aggregation. Aggregation is a relationship among classes have a direct parallel to aggregation relationships among the objects corresponding to these classes. Using our earlier example of the ramp controller and growing ramp objects illustrated a link between two objects which we represented via using relationships between their corresponding classes, temperature controller and temperature ramp. Finally, meta class. We have said that every object is an instance of some class. What if we treat a class itself as an object that can be manipulated? To do so, we must ask, what is the class of the class? The answer is simply a meta class. To state it another way, a meta class is a class whose instances are themselves classes. Languages such as Smalltalk and CLOS support the concept of a meta class directly. C++ does not. Indeed, the idea of a meta class takes the idea of object model to its natural completion in pure object oriented programming languages. Relationships between classes and objects. Classes and objects are separate yet intimately related to concepts. Specifically, every object is the instance of some class, and every class has 0 or more instances. For practically all applications are classes are static. Therefore, their existence, semantics and relationships are fixed prior to the execution of a program. Similarly, the class of most objects is static, meaning that once an object is created, its class is fixed. In sharp contrast, however, objects are typically created and destroyed at a furious rate during lifetime of an application. For example, consider the classes and objects in the implementation of a traffic control system. Some of the more important abstractions include planes, flight planes, runways, and airspaces. By their very definition, the meaning of these classes of objects are relatively static. They must be static, for otherwise, one could not build an application that embodied knowledge of such common sense facts as that planes can take off, fly, and then land, and that two planes should not occupy the same space at the same time. Conversely, the instance of these classes are too dynamic. At a fairly slow rate, new runways are built and old ones are deactivated faster at. New flight plans are filed and old ones are filed away. With great frequency, new planes enter a particular airspace and old one leaves. Role of classes and objects in analysis and design. During analysis and early stages of the design, the developer has two primary tasks: identify the classes and objects that form the vocabulary of the problem domain, invent the structures whereby sets of objects work together to provide the behaviors that satisfy the requirements of the problem. Collectively, we call such classes and objects the key abstractions of the problem, and we call these cooperative structures the mechanisms of the implementation. During these phases of development, the focus of the developer must be upon the outside view of these key abstractions and mechanisms. This view represents the logical framework of the system and therefore encompasses the class structure and object structure of the system. In the later stages of the design and then moving into implementation, the task of the developer changes. The focus is on the outside of the view, these key abstractions and mechanisms involving their physical representations. We may express these design decisions as part of the system module architecture and process architecture. The importance of proper classification. Classification and object oriented development. The identification of classes and objects is the hardest part of the object oriented analysis and design. Our experience shows that the identification involves both discovery and invention. Through discovery, we come to recognize the key abstractions and mechanisms that form the vocabulary of our problem domain. Through invention, we devise generalized abstractions as well as new mechanisms that specify how objects collaborate. Ultimately, discover the invention are both problems of classification, and classification it's fundamentally a problem of finding sameness. When we classify, we ask to group things that have a common structure or exhibit a common behavior. Intelligent classification is actually a part of all good science. As Mikulski and Stepp observe, an omnipresent problem in science is to construct meaningful declarations to construct meaningful classifications of observed objects or situations. Such classifications facilitate human comprehension of the observations and the subsequent development of a specific theory. The same philosophy applies to engineering. In the domain of building architecture and the city planning, Alexander notes that for the architect, his act of design, whether humble or gigantically complex, is governed entirely by the patterns he has in the mind at that moment, and his ability to combine these patterns to a new design. Not surprisingly, then classification is relevant to every aspect of object oriented design. Surprisingly, then classification is relevant to every aspect of object oriented design. Classification helps us to identify generalization, specialization, and aggregation hierarchies among classes. By recognizing the common patterns of interaction among the objects, we come to invent the mechanisms that serve as the soul of our implementation. Classification also guides us in making decisions about modularization. We may choose to place certain classes and objects together in the same module or in the different module depending upon the sameness we find among these declarations. Coupling and cohesion are simply measure of this sameness. Classification also plays a role in allocating process to processors. We place certain process together in the same processor or different processors depending on packaging, performance, or reliability concerns. The difficulty of classification. The examples of classifications. In the previous chapters, we defined an object as something that has a crisply defined boundary. However, the boundaries that distinguish one object from another are often quite fuzzy. For example, look at your leg. Where does your knee begin and where does it end? In recognizing human speech, how do we know that certain sounds connect to a form a word and are not instead a part of any sounding surrounding words? Consider also the design of a word processing system. Do characters constitute a class? Are whole words a better choice? How do we treat arbitrary, non contagious selections of text? Also, what about sentences, paragraphs, or even whole documents? Are these classes of the objects relevant to our problem. The fact that intelligent classification is difficult is hardly new information, since there are parallel to the same problems in object oriented design. Consider for a moment of the problem of classification in two other scientific disciplines, biology and chemistry. Until the 18th century, the prevailing the prevailing scientific thought was that all living complexity being highly subjective, not surprising humans were usually placed at the top of this list. In the midst of 1700s, however, the Swedish botanist Carlos Linnæus suggests a more detailed taxonomy for categorizing organisms according to what he called genus and species. A century later, Darwin proposed the theory that natural selection was the mechanism of evolution, whereby present day species evolved from older ones. Darwin's theory depended upon an intelligent classification of species. As Darwin himself states, naturalists try to arrange the species, genera, and families in each class and on what is called the natural system. But what is meant by this system? Some authors look at it merely as scheme for arranging together those living objects which are most alike, and for separating these which are most like. In contemporary biology, classification denotes the establishment of a hierarchical system of categories on the basis of presumed natural relationships among the organisms. The most general category in a biological taxonomy is the kingdom, followed in the order of increasing specialization by phylum, subphylum, class order, family, genus, and family, species. Historically, a particular organism is placed in a specific category according to its body structure, internal structure characteristics, and evolutionary relationships. The incremental and iterative nature of classification. We have not said all this to defend lengthy software development schedules. Although to the manager or the end user, it does sometimes seem that software engineers need 2 centuries to complete their work. Rather, we have told these stories to point out that intelligent classification is intellectually hard work, and that it best comes about through an incremental and iterative process. This incremental and iterative nature is evident in development of such diverse software technologies as graphical user interfaces, database standards, and even fourth generation languages. As Shaw has observed in the software engineering, the development of individual abstraction often follows a common pattern first. Problems are solved ad hoc. As experience accumulates from person to person, eventually the useful solutions are understood more semantically and they are codified and analyzed. This enables the development of models that support automatic implementations and theories that allow generalization of solution. classification and object oriented development. Yes, today I will give introduction about this. Tomorrow I will clearly explain on this topic. Classical and modern approaches. The problem of classification has been the concern of countless philosophers, linguists, cognitive scientists, and mathematicians ever since before the time of Plato. It is reasonable to study their experiences and apply what we learn to object oriented design. Historically, there have only been three general approaches to the classification: classical categorization, conceptual clustering, prototype theory. Classical categorization. In the classical approach to categorization, all the entities that have been property or collection of the properties in common form a category. Such properties are necessary and sufficient to define the category. For example, married couple constitute a category. One is the either married or not, and the value of this property is sufficient to decide which group a particular person belongs. On the other hand, tall people do not form a category unless we can agree to some absolute criteria for what distinguishes for the property tall from the short. Classical categorization comes to us first from Plato and then from Aristotle through his classification of plants and animals, in which he uses a technique much akin to contemporary children's games of 20 questions.